Hello, all. It's your host, Mari. I'm going to be helping you paint this scene in Ireland today. The Castle Green.
If everyone would stop talking.
Alright, guys, let's just get this thing started here. We're going to begin by mixing some blue and white together to make our sky. We're just going to make that sky all nice and fluffy with big swirls and swoops. You can really just do whatever you feel you want to do with this one, because it's just the sky. It's very abstract. You can just grab a little bit more white and then toss that right on your blue brush, and it'll help with blending and just put more texture into the sky. Really just throw those white fluffy clouds all up in there. So what I'm doing now is kind of making the clouds look more like the picture we're using, but you can really do whatever you feel like here. If you want to make it a sunset, if you know how to do all that. I kind of prefer a nice cloudy sky for Ireland. Now this here is just a little bit of like shading for the clouds to make them look really large and ominous. You can really just blend that in with the same wet brush you've been using. And don't worry, we'll make it more cloud-like later once the blue dries a little bit. And now we're gonna put the sea down. We're gonna just mix our blue and white with a little bit of black, actually, to make a little bit of gray water. Gray blue water. And if you want to add a little water to your mixture too, that helps with the smoothness of it all. And you want a nice straight line for the water to get that horizon look to it. And then make sure you're just getting the whole page right now, because then we're just going to paint over it since it's acrylic paint. Now you're just going to want to get a dollop of your bright green to get a little base. And then I added just a touch of black to it to give it a more natural look. But you're going to do a couple layers, so don't worry about the color too much right now. And I'm just putting some texture into the grass now with these little swirls, because it's not just a flat piece of grass, it's just like a bunch of tiny little pieces. I'm really just making sure there's no white pieces left on the canvas with this first layer of green going on here. Now I've added a little bit more black to the brush, and I'm making that little hill that's before the cliff there. because it's just a bit more of a little break for the painting. And it gives it more depth, of course. So now that we've planned where everything's gonna be and the sky has dried a little bit, we're gonna go back and really make some nice clouds here. Because it's dry, we can really have the white show through. So go ahead and dry your brush, and you can see how different the brush strokes are. They're more like splattery, and that's kind of what we're going for here. And that really makes the white pop as well. Again, I'm just doing the clouds that were in the picture, but you can do whatever clouds you want. There's also some wet brush going on, and you can see I'm wiping it off because it's not like the picture, but that's how you make it smoother, and then dry brush makes it more scratchy looking. So whatever you prefer. I like a mixture of both. And here is some craziness. Bear with me. I wanted to add a little bit of pink and yellow to the clouds. Totally don't feel inclined to because it's might make it terrible. But if you feel like it could be fun, and it adds a lot of life to the clouds and more shadows. But as you can see, it looks like crap. Sorry. It looks terrible until you fix it later. But that's art. It's a process. I almost gave up at this point because I was so disappointed with it, but Nana kept me going. So now to fix this, I'm just gonna be lobbing more white paint on. Try to cover that up. But it's not terrible. There are yellowish clouds sometimes. So it's sort of okay, but oh no. We have a storm a-brewing. Now we're gonna go get our blue, black, and white mixture. And we're going in and making some storm clouds. And we're gonna really make sure we get the bottom to get those shadows in there. And we're gonna just make the sky a little bit more Irish. I mean, I'm not saying that Ireland doesn't have blue skies or anything, but it's got that like foggy feel to it. Gives the clouds a little more definition. And now the white will really pop even more. We're just adding some lighter bluish stuff to just blend in the clouds. Also, if you want to just do like those cotton ball sheep clouds on a blue sky, that's totally cool too. Okay, so finally we're done with the clouds. We're gonna get some black and green. And we're gonna put this little hillside thingy, cliff, back on there in a big way. So we can really add some depth to the painting. That's what art is all about. It's about depth. And that means we also bring some more shadows into the mainland as well. so that it's not such a drastic change. Okay, now we're starting on the castle. So we're gonna use some like super black, super dark gray for this at first. And we're gonna just do some line work at first with the sides of our brush to make some lines. And it's okay, we're just making the outline for now. And see how it's nice that we put the background down first so you can see it through the building like you're supposed to. And if it's easier for you, you can just make the shape first and then fill it in. And try your best to keep the doors and windows open. For the outline, I do vertical lines, and then for the inside, to make it more brick-like, I'll put horizontal lines, horizontal brush strokes. And again, if you want it to be smoother, add more water. And if you want it to look more bristly, have less water. And it's kind of an abstract shape in general, so don't worry if it's like not entirely correct. Now I'm just adding a little bit more black to the already gray brush and putting more details and lines onto it. And then you really want to actually make the windows first, but I forgot to. Like, draw out where the windows are going to be so you don't paint over it. And now I'll show you how to fix that if you did the same thing as me. You just put some white there and then add a little blue into it. Now I'm just adding a little more shading with different variations of green, black, and white, just to give it that earthy, mossy feel. Now I'm just kind of smoothing it all out with some gray. To make it seem more like a building. I'm just fixing the windows again. They don't have to be really square or rectangle because it's like ruins, so it's not going to be perfect. Now we're just putting some bricks back on there after we solidified the gray with our little horizontal brush method. Or bricks, I mean stones. Sorry, Nana. Now we're gonna dip the brush in some black and rub it on the paint thingy first so that it just becomes a shade darker than the castle. And then you can make that little fence that's around it without having the fence take away from the painting by being too dark or too light. I'm just adding a little more shading to that little cliff thing, of course. Now we're gonna give a little more dimension to the grass here. So we're gonna get some dark green by mixing black and green. Whatever shade makes you happy. And that looks a lot more natural than that bright lime green. So The grass is interesting. So picture yourself standing and seeing this castle here. You're looking forward, so all the grass is gonna be directed towards both sides of you. That means you should start in the center and then fan out from there, if that makes sense. So like start at a horizontal angle, and then by the center you're at a vertical angle, and then by the other side you're back to horizontal. That's what I'm doing right now. And that's just how grass kind of flows whenever you're looking at it from far away. Just gives it a little more life. And then we'll be adding some more different shades later on. But there's also parts in it where it's all ruffled up, so it could stray from that pattern. I'm just using a wet brush for this, mainly just to cover up all that lime green. But I would normally use a dry brush for grass, just to make it more exciting. And then shadows usually come from things like that cliffside and the castle. So we'll put a little bit more darkness over there. But the sun is also coming from behind us, I believe. So there is a little bit of an interesting shadow field happening. I'm just adding up 50 shades of green, as Nana calls it. And you can do that by just mixing white and black and green in different levels. And really try to make sure there's no little white spots, because that's how you can tell an amateur from someone who actually knows how to paint decently, is all the spots will be filled in. And you can do that by just adding a tiny little bit of water to your brush. Anywhere, basically. Just helps blend things. And this was a little tricky because I was on watercolor paper, but it'll be easier for you guys. I used white for the accents, but honestly, I think it would be better if you used a little bit of green with the white so it's less drastic. But it's always good to use a lighter color to brighten it up while you can still see the darkness beneath. And here we go. Now you get to sign your name because it's done. Congratulations. Have a happy A&N trip from Mari. Love you all. Thank you and good night.